Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. Listen up. WynnBET is now live in all these states, and the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas has finally landed in online sports betting and casino play. From boosted parlays to live in-game offs on every major sport, WynnBET gives you the tools to win. Sign up today for your risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning.
You're listening to Building the Broncos with Nick Kendell and Carl Dumler, Broncos country's leading draft and scouting analysts. Get on over to milehighhuddle.com to sound off on all things Broncos.
All right, guys, it's time. It is 6:02 p.m. Mountain Time, 5:02 where I'm at. Carl, what are you, Central Time? Is it 7:02 there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 7:02. It's Tuesday. It's the 2est Tuesday of all time, 2/22/2022. Had to get the dad joke in there because I saw it 100 times, and I'm like, God, if I don't do it before Carl, then I'm going to be a failure. So welcome in, guys. Building the Broncos. So much to get into today. Aaron Rodgers, no news interview, of course, but maybe that no news is news. Who knows? And press conference as well. But first and foremost, Carl, how you doing, buddy? It's good to see you.
I'm good. It's gotten a little cold here in the Midwest. I think I checked my car today and it was 2 degrees when I took the kids to school. So yeah, not fun.
No, not fun at all. Yeah, I had to scrape off snow off my car today, which was moving up to Seattle. You hope you don't have to do more than once a year. That was probably the 3rd time this year, unfortunately, but is what it is. So we're getting at it. Let's get to hello to the comment section here. Bradley Conger coming in saying, "Sup, fellas? Hope you're doing well. Bradley, great to see you." Jeff Noyes coming in. How you doing, Jeff? Says, "I watched the coordinator introduction presser. Came away impressed with all 3 of them. Kudos to Peyton for what appears to be a great hire and Coach Hackett. Absolutely, all 3 seemed intelligent and well-spoken. Obviously, the results will matter the most, and we'll see what those turn out to be. But, man, all 3, again, intelligent, well-spoken, articulate. I'm very excited for the people that they hired and really hoping for the best for all of them. Also, Falling Sloth is in here. Howdy, Broncos country. Hope you all have a great day. Yep, again, Jeff Noyes coming in. Happy Tuesday, the 22222 coming in there. Colin Wood, over under how many minutes until Aaron Rodgers' name is mentioned? Well, guess what? It was mentioned because of you, Colin. You put it in there. So, boom, there it is. Dylan Von Ark, sup, Broncos country. Make sure you hit the like button on the way in and subscribe if you haven't already. Amen to that. Thank you, Dylan. Mike Woodward, evening, everybody. Also, we got Tyler Rogers. Hackett is such a breath of fresh air, man. I can't wait. So Hackett coming in there. Carl, I got to say, he must have talked to my guy Smythe, who I've talked with at a few NFL combines here, pulled aside. I mean, just the man, myth, legend, in my opinion. Patrick Smythe, what he knows and what doesn't get out is incredible. But I think Smythe must have pulled Hackett aside and said, "Here's the key words, because I want Nick Kendell tonight on tonight's Broncos for breakfast." Building the Broncos, which the Broncos also stole earlier this year. They used it to Building the Broncos. I was like, hey, now, copyright infringement. That's not fair. But key buzzwords here. Efficiency. Oh, okay, Hackett, keep talking to me. Synergy. Oh, do it one more time. Uses the word process 2 times. Now, these are all George Payton buzzwords as well, but gotta say, again, the nerd in me is like freaking out about even these buzzwords. So hats off to Hackett at the top. Energy and those keywords. I'm in.
Yeah, you're right. It is fun to listen to him talk. Yeah. And compared to Vic Fangio, who, I don't know, I guess kind of that way of saying he had a punchable face because he just looked angry all the time and just, his answers almost seemed like he was annoyed at everybody that was asking questions.
He was a curmudgeon. Curmudgeon.
Yeah, he's the get off my lawn kind of guy. Nathaniel Hackett's the guy with lemonade and cookies saying, "Hey, come on in. Let's have a party here." That's him. Yeah. And you could tell all the coaches that he's hired, all of them have incredible respect for him.
Yeah.
And just couldn't say enough good things about him. I mean, they really, most of them want to talk about Hackett the person more so than Hackett the coach.
Yep.
And that says a lot about his character there.
Absolutely. And Jeff Noyes coming in as well, saying they seem to bring an energy that has been missing for a while. Definitely some fresh faces in there. Obviously, that could be a double-edged sword. You never know, but I'm going to lean into the positivity for now and say it's a good thing. And definitely there's hope in Broncos country right now, which there feels like there hasn't been in a bit. Maybe it's honeymoon phase. Maybe it's not. But, if it's that good, the honeymoon phase can last for a decade. We'll see. Marquise Serrano coming in here. Marquise and I go way back. Marquise and I used to do some football stuff. We actually played in middle school together, and he's does a lot of football stuff. Big Titans fan, and he's talking about his number one quarterback here. I think his number one quarterback in Sam Howell. How do you guys like the idea of Sam Howell to the Broncos? Obviously, Sam Howell, one of the quarterbacks down at the Senior Bowl this year, University of North Carolina. A lot of people mocked him as either the first or second quarterback off the board for the way too early mock drafts a year ago. They lost Javonte Williams. They lost Daz Newsome. They lost Michael Carter, and they lost another wide receiver whose name is escaping me right now. Was Dwayne Brown. They lost him as well. And Sam Howell took a step back. I absolutely hate the scheme that they're using there. I can't. The offensive coordinator, he was the offensive coordinator for Ole Miss when they was like, AJ Brown was like, yeah, I don't know any routes because my coordinator did not teach me any, or I don't know any. It's like, well, I hate this guy. He's terrible. DK Metcalf as well, getting upset at him. Gosh, what's his name? But either way, Sam Howell to Denver, wouldn't take him at 9, wouldn't take him at 15. You're talking about that 25 to 40 range. I would be interested. If he's your guy, then for sure. I think he's got arguably the second best pure arm talent in this class, behind the likes of Malik Willis. And I assess arm talent as not just being static in the pocket and like perfect drop back throwing. I need you to be like a shortstop or a really good third baseman where you can get velocity off base, off different platforms. I mean, Stafford did that all year, and it's not just the static arm talent that you see with like a Jared Goff or a Carson Strong. It's the different platforms and the different arm angles. So I do like Howell. End of round 1, youngest quarterback in this draft class too, going to be 21 years old. Very tough player as well, which I like in a quarterback. But there's enough questions there where it's like I don't want to be married to him. I'm interested in dating. Like I'll hit up the DMs. That's about it. But marrying him, which is what you do with a top 10 pick, not for me.
Yeah, I've had a love-hate relationship with Sam Howell. He beat out a kid from my area that I really liked the kid. He is a really neat kid, very good personality, and he went to North Carolina, got beat out, had to transfer. But no, I like Howell. And I don't put everything that happened this year of his decline completely on him. Like you said, you lose your 4 best weapons, any quarterback is going to decline in that situation. And Absolutely. Like I said, with the system, he made that system work. It was square peg, round hole, and he still made it fit, kind of. I mean, there's still some times that it wasn't quite perfect, and he had to kind of improvise. And there's a few things about his game that I'm not a big fan of. Yeah. And before I get to that, I do want to get to, we are going to be having our another Stars competition here for a Broncos jersey that is a choice by the person who wins. And right now we are at 96% complete. And almost there, guys, and that's just incredible. 250,000 stars. So make sure you guys get in there and get your opportunity to win this jersey. And right now we got the leaderboard with Michael Ronquillo sitting there at number 1, Jacob Foster number 2, Mark Schrader at number 3, Rodney Garcia, Miguel Santos-Ven, Travis Tarbox, Tim Hoffman, Andrew Baker, Peter Middleton, Lawrence Rivera. There's your top 10 right now, guys. Yeah. Everybody, you've got an opportunity to get in tonight. So please take advantage of that. And may the best man win, or woman, or whoever wins. Like I said, jersey of your choice. If I'm picking, personally, I'd probably go a Patrick Surtain jersey. I think that guy's going to be around for a while. I think he's going to probably get that second contract unless there's some kind of injuries that happen here in Denver. I'm always I want them to be a lifer or almost lifer. Von Miller, he counts because he's a Bronco for life. Yep. But yeah, so like I said, get into that competition, guys. Tonight is a great opportunity to get those stars in, get your questions in. Plenty to talk about with this press conference and some great new names here in Denver that seem very, very excited, understand the history of this organization, understand how much all of us as fans want to win. So like I said, get your questions in there. And we got Jay Kozad coming in saying, I like what the new coaches had to say. It's a different approach. Hope it works.
Well, know when we know, right? Yeah. That's the thing. And you know what? Also, not to be that glaring reality of the situation, but it's not going to matter if they don't figure out the quarterback position. And I'm not saying it won't be Drew Lock. I'm not saying it will be Drew Lock, but if right now what they've had so far since Peyton Manning, since 2014 Peyton Manning, for the most part, has not been good enough. So they can be great coaches, but if the quarterbacks are struggling and putting out statistical output that we've seen the last 6 years, it's not good enough. They'll be gone. That's football. Thank you so much, Jay, for joining us today. We also got Albert Knoppers in the house. Howdy, Nick and Carl. Good to see you. James Hyatt, awesome to see. We got Michael coming in. My dogs. Thank you, Michael. You can be one of my dogs as well. It's okay. Summit's number one for me, but that's okay. Jeff Noyes in the house, obviously. Dennis Woods, good to see you. Collaboration. I love that. Yeah, talking about that's one of my biggest takeaways, I think, was takeaways listening to the press conference twice, going over the notes, marinating on it a bit, is that this is very much going to be a collaborative effort. Obviously, you have everybody who is their specific coaching, whether that be the positional or the offense or whatever, but you're going to have guys overlapping and working with each other and really leaning on each other, picking each other's brains. And I also liked what they had to say, talk about collaboration. That's both football and outside of football. These guys, the players and the coaches, hung out outside of football to really get to know who they were as people, what makes them tick, how to approach them. So I'm excited about it. It does seem like it's going to be no matter how it goes, these are guys that are going to have each other's back. And I think it's going to be a very tight community. Now, adversity, when you throw adversity in there, who knows what it looks like? And they will have to have it. Again, it's the NFL. But if you have a strong tie and you have everybody's back, everybody has each other's back, that I think leads itself to trust and a better process. And it just didn't feel that way in Denver under Vic Fangio. And a lot of finger pointing, a lot of passive aggressiveness, a lot of like, well, it's not my problem that happened. No, you need that guy next to you that trusts you, and also to trust that he's going to do what he can to help you as well. And I feel that with this. I mean, just based off a press conference, who knows for sure, but I feel that with this, where it definitely was not the case towards the end with Vic Fangio. Right.
Well, I always think of that Super Bowl season. Von Miller had a nightclub in his basement, and like all the players and even some coaches would come and hang out and just talking about that relationship that you build outside of the building.
Yep.
It's not a job come 9 to 5. And when I clock out, I don't think about this anymore. No, this is our family. This is our friends. This is who we hang out with. And Paul, hi to you as well. Always good to see you. Kelly on coming in saying, yo, CC, what's up, Broncos country? Hope you all doing great. Thank you, CC. Hope you're doing great as well. And Don Olson saying, hey guys, what about starting Brett Rippon this year and see if we can get the number 1 draft choice next spring?
That's always great in theory. It just never plays out because too many of these guys are fighting for their job right now. And also, who's going to be bleeping, killing? Nah, that's too much. But like just over the angry beyond belief, if something like this happens, the pass catchers, the guys who are dependent on the quarterback for their money. I mean, Noah Fant, who's entering a 5th-year option year coming down the line, maybe a contract coming up. Jerry Jeudy already 3 years in the league. Now you're going to be tanking with a guy who is borderline. I don't want to completely drag Rippon here, but borderline rosterable talent at quarterback. And then you're going that whole season. I can't see it. And then people are talking, just play Drew Lock, you'll tank. I'm critical of Lock because the bar for me is top 10 quarterback play. And if you're not flirting there, then I'm looking to upgrade the position. But with Lock on this team, he is probably too good as long as he's protecting the football for this team to completely bottom out. There's just too much talent also around the roster. Now, if you put Lock on the Lions, we're having a different conversation. But there's too much talent on this Broncos team as it currently stands for that to happen. With Rippon, though, maybe it's not feasible. And there's too many, like, you say that nice on paper now, but man, that would be a very long and painful season to get to.
For sure.
Yeah. We also got the brainstorm coming in here saying, I will love you, join you guys and talk football. Kiss. Well, thank you for the $2.99 super. Yeah, if you have any questions for us, let us know. Also, Carl, getting into your lemonade and cookies here. CJ Morris coming in and saying, hello, boys. Draft Stingley. Yes, this is absolutely something that I would consider. Stingley is, I don't know if you saw Daniel Jeremiah's mock today. Stingley fell, I think, to the 14th pick, going to the Baltimore Ravens, which what a great fit that would be for them, Marlon Humphrey and Derek Stingley. But something caught my eye today in Ejiro Evero's press conference, specifically talking about all the lineages of coaches he's worked under, 3-4, Wade Phillips, Monty Kiffin, Morris as well, and of course, Brandon Staley, Vic Fangio, etc. They're going to be running a lot of the same stuff as Vic Fangio, but a little bit different. But the thing he said to me is if we can't get pressure with 4, which newsflash, guys, Broncos couldn't get pressure with 4 last year. Dead last in pass rush win weight, according to ESPN. And for those at home, that's dead last. So in that scenario, you're expecting the Broncos to probably send 4, send 5, send 6. If you're going to take Evero at his word, could be coach speak, who knows? But if you're going to be sending 5 or 6 continuously, you know what you need? Damn good cornerbacks. And that's with a heavy S on the cornerbacks. Oh man, the Broncos, they blitzed a lot under Wade Phillips. It was a lot of fun. They dictated. They also had 3 top 20 cornerbacks on the same team in the same season. Like, that doesn't happen. That's really rare. The Buccaneers as well. They have 3 good cornerbacks when they're healthy, and that made the defense tick because they could actually play in space. But when one of those guys got hurt, it fell apart. So you need to have, if you're going to be blitzing like Evero hinted at today, you need bodies on the back end, and Darby/Surtain is quite frankly not enough in the AFC West.
For sure. I would love Stingley. Like I said, then you can play a lot of man coverage across the board. You can mix up what you're doing with your safeties and bring those blitzes and feel good about being able to hold up on the back end. That would be huge for the Broncos. And the great thing is they'd be young in the secondary as well. They'd be there for a long time, being a good unit for you. So if you're you can build on a strength. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, you recognize the weaknesses, but if you can build on a strength and make it all that much more stronger and lean into it, go for it. But we got Mike S coming in here talking about an Alabama boy. What's up, Broncos country? And Travis Tarbox saying, evening, fellas. Sorry I wasn't very active this morning, Nick. Work was kind of hectic this morning, but I was listening. DB for life. Travis, we just appreciate you tuning in at all. Really, we do. It's always great to see you, and we understand work's a priority. All of us have our different jobs we got to do. Okay. It should be at least enough of a priority. So, but glad you're tuning in here now, Travis, and getting a chance to talk about some Bronco football.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see. I always have to put on Travis's hat that he sent me when he shows up. I had it ready for you this morning, but not showing up. That's okay. Travis is super helpful and supportive to us here. Good to see Todd Ostendorf as well coming in here. Let's get at it here. I'll peruse the comments here, but can you kind of lead us off here with the press conference a bit while I kind of, pull some of these up? Like, what did you get today with Hackett leading it off?
Well, again, I love Hackett talking about all these different guys. Most of them he knows very personally. Like, he trusts them, they trust him. And so there's already that relationship that's there. Sometimes, like I said, there was that disconnect between Fangio and his players and other coaches. Hackett, I mean, one of these guys, Evero was his best man, or he was his best man at his wedding, or one of the vice versa. I can't remember exactly how that went. And on top of that, a lot of these guys are well respected around the league. So it's not just hey, this is our buddies club. These are football guys that love football, and also, like I said, they all care about people. They care about the players they're going to be working with. Listening to, I think it was it Outen was talking about when he was coaching in high school, and that was kind of a neat experience just to hear him talk about learning from being a teacher in the classroom. Yeah, working with special needs kids and seeing how they all learn in different ways, and then carrying that over to the football field and learning, hey, I've got to work to teach these guys in different ways than I did before. And then I loved the other part of this is it's not only that they're about building relationships, but they're about figuring out how best to teach. Like, they want to be teaching coaches. That was very, very evident. That's their number one priority, is really teaching these guys to be not only good players, but good people as well. And, obviously you got to go out there and win. You can't just have a team of good guys and say, hey, yeah, we're going to keep your job because, hey, we're good guys. They got to actually go win some games. But it just seems like they're willing to tap into a little bit of everything. And Chase Wellner, thank you for the stars. Really appreciate that. Yeah. I wanted to make sure to recognize you for that. You guys rock. Go Broncos. Thank you. You rock as well, Chase. But no, it just listening to them talk. Like I said, they recognize there's so many different avenues that they need to connect with these players through analytics, through technology, through going out and having, supper together, playing cards together, whatever it may be. They recognize all of this has to be a part of being with the Denver Broncos. Yeah. And so just seeing that wholeness of what they're bringing to the table is very different than what we've heard the last few years with different coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nathan coming here saying, let's get this to 69 likes, people. Nice. Let's do it. Also, Robert Katzlo's in the house. What's up, Broncos Maniacs? What's up to you, Robert? Hope you're doing well. Michael Ronquillo coming back in today. Michael was a superstar this morning, so good to see you're still hanging around, Michael, down there in Tucson, Arizona. Michael says, good evening, Nick and Carl, on building the Broncos. Go Broncos. Go Michael, man. It's great to see you. Always awesome to see you here. Colin Wood, we have good running backs and the line gets no push. We can't gain 1 yard when we need it or push it over the goal line. Yeah, the offensive line's been a little bit passive, I would say, but hopefully with this outside zone scheme, we can see it get a little bit better. I do think that the futures of specifically Netane Moody, probably most emphatically, given how much movement skill is required for the position, and he just does not look good moving in space. I mean, sorry, guy, like you're a good power scheme fit, but outside zone, but Lloyd Cushenberry too. He's one that concerns me as far as the fit going forward because of how much climbing and targeting outside of that first line of the offensive line that you have to do with the outside zone defense. So we'll see. Yeah, but I agree with you. You have good running backs, but it's the running game typically only going to ever be as good as the guys blocking for them.
Yep, for sure. That's why I am very glad that they brought Glasgow back because he can play all three interior spots and he has enough movement skills and he's very good in space. Yep. Getting to his guy and making the block. I think he's one of the better ones. So I'm excited to see him. But we got Mike Woodward coming in saying, question, guys. I keep hearing how we have a playoff Super Bowl roster. Am I missing something? I don't see it being that solid. I see holes at every level. I think it's people see the potential. I mean, you got some really good athletes on this roster that haven't been there in the past. Guys that can get open in space. You got a lot of weapons that can make plays. And we've seen it in little bits. I mean, obviously, Cortland Sutton, he's shown it for an entire season, going over 1,000 yards. Tim Patrick, he's shown he can be right there at that 1,000-yard wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy, I mean, that touchdown to end the 2020 season against the Raiders for that 92-yard touchdown or whatever it was. I mean, you get to see he can go and make those kind of plays. And we saw it in the first week against the Giants before he got hurt. 100%. I mean, this guy, you get him the ball, he's going to make something happen. Noah Fant, you think back to his rookie year against like the Houston Texans when he had some huge plays in that one where he took a 5-yard pass and turned it into an 80-yard play. So you see the potential of what those kind of weapons can be. And then on defense, yeah, you got playmakers at the different levels. Yes, there are holes, but you see a lot of young players that have stepped up that could grow into something more. Broncos haven't had that as much in the past.
I think this is also first let's get to Michael because, man, Michael always coming in with the help. Let's hit the Stars goal tonight, Broncos country. Go Broncos. Michael, the Star goal has been hit in my mind because you're here. So we appreciate you, obviously, joining us on Building the Broncos today. Coming back to Mike Woodward's question here, I don't think that you're missing anything, but I think the most important thing in here is that maybe not just you, but this is something that happens to every single fan of every single team. You're so close to the situation that if you step back, you notice that every single team has holes and issues across the roster. I mean, the bleeping Super Bowl winning Rams brought in Eric Weddle, who hadn't played football in 2 years, who's wearing the green dot in the Super Bowl. First time a safety's done that in like 5 years. And they're linebackers. Troy Reader, they're Ernest Jones. I mean, solid for them, but rotational guys. So every single roster is going to have holes. The thing about being a Super Bowl roster or a playoff roster is that a good quarterback, especially when you're talking about like jumping up tiers, like going from like a tier 4 quarterback to a tier 3 quarterback is worth like 2.5 wins on the season. And then like from every single tier up there, it's about 2.5 wins. So if you plug in, it depends on the caliber of quarterback, but even though there are holes in this team, if you plug in even a Kirk Cousins who's, 8 to 12 any given season, we'll see. I mean, these guys are being moved up because Tom Brady leaving, Deshaun Watson out of the league right now, maybe Aaron Rodgers leaving, who knows? But definitely. And that's, again, it just goes to speak of how valuable the quarterback position is. If you have a good enough quarterback, you do not have to have a perfect roster, period. End of story. They cover up holes. They raise all ships, all the cliches. They're true for the quarterback. But you have to have an exceedingly perfect roster and so narrow margins if you don't have that guy. And that's why you typically don't see teams that don't have a great quarterback, or when you do see them win a Super Bowl, they tend to regress quickly, massively back to the mean. 2015 Broncos, the Eagles after Nick Foles, Ravens with Joe Flacco, quick regression back to the mean because it's so fragile as far as health. All those guys that are young, contract, cost controlled at the same time, blip, gone.
Right.
So
I think of Hackett with the Jaguars, where they were in the AFC Championship, almost, just a couple plays away from going to the Super Bowl, and had that great defense, great run game, all those kind of things. And then by the next year, they're pretty much blowing it up because they didn't have the quarterback figured out. But we got the brainstorm coming back in again. If we don't trade for Aaron and we don't get a quarterback this year in the draft, who will you guys look forward to next year's draft?
Oh, okay. Everybody knows Bryce Young and
CJ Stroud, as I forget the name mid-sentence, but because I was already starting to think of all these other quarterbacks. I actually was pretty impressed with Will Levis this season at Kentucky. He's a decent athlete with a good arm, and he did a pretty good job unlocking Wan'Dale Robinson for that offense there at Kentucky. I think Phil Jurkovec at Boston College has some intriguing tools. Spencer Rattler, say what you will about the person Spencer Rattler, the tape that he's had, has been some issues, but the arm is real. The arm talent is real. The athleticism, the mobility, it's like a Patrick Mahomes type of mobility. It's not like Trey Lance or that kind of runner, but that's there as well. We'll see what happens with Jaden Daniels. Anthony Richardson is an incredible athlete at Florida who's kind of still getting it together. I really like Jaron Hall at BYU as well. Yep. There's Van Dyke at Miami, who is really intriguing. Tanner McKee at Stanford was really talented as well. He intrigues me. So there's a lot of guys. Jake Haener.
I don't think he's got an NFL arm. I did not overlook him on purpose. All right, I overlooked him on purpose.
Okay.
Unfortunately, but I gotta have. There's like a cutoff for arm for me. It's like who's the guy in this year's class from Western Kentucky?
Ellaby?
No, that's Western Michigan.
That's Western Michigan. Yeah,
Bailey Zapp. Sorry, buddy, you don't got enough RPMs on that ball for me. But as far as next year's draft, that's where I'm looking as well. And who knows? Maybe Aaron Rodgers is available next offseason if you can't get him this one. Who knows? Thank you so much, Brainstorm. Appreciate you double dipping here. It's great to see you. We also got a $20 super coming in from Corey H. How great, man. We love you, Corey H. It's going to be great. I was able to catch Aaron today. Nothing said is right, but there's a lot of nothing said. He talked about a lot of nothing. He could have said anything, but he said nothing, and that is something. We still have a shot. Yeah, there we go, baby. The good vibes are rolling. We still have a shot. I think, personally, Aaron Rodgers is going to be back in Green Bay next season, but I think that's me coping and guarding myself. It's like the hottest girl in high school. I'm with my high school sweetheart, so I'll keep my voice down on this one. This is just an example, not me, but I'm not even going to ask so I don't have to get turned down. That's where I feel like I'm at with Aaron Rodgers. I'm not even imagining the possibility because I can't take the hurt again that I got last season.
I'm still holding on to that little bit of hope that this works out for the Broncos.
God bless you.
You got a 4-year run here of greatness, and it's all exciting. And then of course they find their next quarterback right after him, and we just ride off into the sunset on unicorns. That's my world. That's where I live. But no, you're right. He did say a lot of nothing, and thankfully, he said it at the beginning of the interview, like, hey, I'm not going to give anything today. So I'll be honest, I kind of cut it off at that point. I'm like, man, you got to be kidding me. I thought I was tuning in for this big announcement, and you put out this big thing yesterday, and now you're saying, oh, I got back from this retreat, and I'm just very thankful for the people in my life and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know. He's such a strategic person. It's hard to know. I think he feeds off this, of people trying to read into everything he's doing and almost finds it funny. But, I still want him, but it's starting to tick me off a little bit with this holdout. I just want to know, can I move forward with you or move forward without you? I need to know where I'm going.
Quit teasing me, you son of a... Okay. Yep, absolutely. I mean, God, it's good TV. Maybe he's a little bit of a narcissist, but most of the great quarterbacks have been. You're damn right I'd take him here in Denver still. My guest coming in with the Alabama Crimson Tide logo here. Wondering what tackles will be left at 9. Your boy Evan Neal will not be there at 9. I guess there is a chance that Ikem Ekwonu could be there in North Carolina State. Maybe some teams are like, oh, he's a guard. I mean, he can guard or tackle. I don't really care. I also think there's been some people who haven't really considered him because of like the run blocking esque fit. And like, I want the pass protector. He's still got some work in the pass pro, but like his ability to be like a heat seeking missile at the second level as a blocker is incredible. And that's something that I'm going to be interested to see how Quinn Miners does this year, because Quinn Miners, great athlete, no doubt about it. But sometimes I felt like he was a little bit over his heels and out of control when asking to reach block. That is not the case with Ekwonu, man. He is targeted, locked in, and he's going to bury somebody. So he's one, probably not going to be there at 9. Maybe Charles Cross. I have concerns about his pass protection. I do know he's working with Duke Manyweather. Might have to pick his brain about that. Sometimes we've DM'd back and forth in the past, so we'll see. Some Tristan Wirfs love, which was great. That was like Tristan Wirfs sophomore year. I'm like, this kid is amazing. Oh my God. And it's like, he is. And let me see the other one. Maybe Trevor Penning up there at 9. I saw that Daniel Jeremiah had him going 6 today in his mock draft, which was wild to me. But things are going to change a lot, and consensus is all over the board in this year for the draft, apparently. So who knows? But those are the guys I think I'd keep in mind right now. Anybody else would be a concerning level of reach.
I'm with you there. I know some have mentioned, I'm trying to remember the guy from Central Michigan.
Bernard Raymond.
Yep.
He's talented, but he's kind of more of an end of round 1 kind of guy, in my opinion.
Yep.
Didn't do as well at the Senior Bowl as I'd hoped. Granted, the edge talent at the Senior Bowl was pretty good, but I did not think that he held his own to the extent of like, oh yeah, that's a first round pick, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And we got Robert Caslow coming in here. Carl, I don't know if you have the ability to grab any of the things as well, but if you see any that, tickle your fancy, then go ahead. Scott is not joining us today, so we are it's the live streaming equivalent of free balling it. But we're going in here. It's not brought to you by Manscaped, but maybe it should be. What are the needs that need to be filled in free agency? The real cheating answer here is all of them. Every single obvious gaping need that you have on this roster right now, where you don't have the guy. Let's look at it this way. You look at the roster right now, prior to the draft, even what spot can I go into the season and I feel comfortable with what I have with the starting 11, maybe a few depth guys as well. Those have to be filled prior to the draft, because you cannot go into the draft with a singular position needing to be drafted in the first round or the second round, or your season's sunk. So to me, that says for sure, you need to bring in a tackle, a right tackle, without a doubt. And you also have to bring in an off-ball linebacker. The other position, or two. I feel confident that going into the draft with Josie Jewell or Alexander Johnson, pushed also by Jonas Griffin and Baron Browning, that you should be okay there and let the draft come to you. It's not like where you're total question marks at the position, which you are right now at right tackle and linebacker. Those are the two that I think have to be filled in free agency, no matter what.
Yeah. Nickel corner, it'd be tough to go into the draft without having somebody for that position, because they've lost 95% of the guys that took snaps there are gone off the roster right now.
Yep.
And that's an underrated position in today's NFL. I still hate that they don't count that as a starter when they're listing their top 11, because that position plays more than usually your second, third linebacker.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, I got to clean up a little bit of trash here in the comment section as well. But that was unfortunate. Trevor Sandel coming in here saying, Nick, is it just me or did the offensive coordinator, Justin Oaten, comments today seem about Locke like coach speak? As Scott says, it's saying something and not really saying anything. He also mentioned Matt Ryan. Does that mean something about the Broncos could be looking for? He mentioned Matt Ryan and Matt Schaub kind of competing together, being still friends, but also making each other better, which is what you want for that quarterback position. Still being competitive, but being friendly competitive is key. As far as the coach speak, I mean, he stated the obvious, and it's something that anybody who's watched Drew Lock can tell you. He's a solid athlete, and he's got a big arm. How is he going to work into the offense? How is he going to fit in the offense and what works for him? We're going to find out. But that's my observations off tape, said Justin Outen. The other big thing with him was he mentioned the first thing when he opened up the press conference. I think it was the first thing or the second thing is, what's the most important thing on offense? He didn't say scoring points. He said it's all about the ball, protecting the ball. And he said the team that wins the turnover battle by +1 wins 72% of the games, and the team that wins a turnover battle by 2 or more wins 82% of the games. Doesn't that sound familiar, Carl? God, I just feel like the turnover stuff has been talked. It's been beaten to death, but it's just so real.
Yeah, and he did say something, it didn't make me cringe, but it made me think of something that Shermer said of we want every drive to end in a kick. Like Shermer said that a couple times as well. And it's a coaching idea. That's what you want. If you can't score a touchdown, you want to be able to kick a field goal. If you can't kick a field goal, you want to be able to punt.
Yep.
A turnover, an actual turnover is a bigger deal than a kick. And so, like I said, you got to protect the football. You want to go score points. You want to be aggressive, but you want to be a controlled aggressive in what you're doing. And that's something that Locke still struggles with. He still doesn't quite know when he's supposed to pull the trigger, when he's not supposed to. And part of that is just not always understanding what he's supposed to be doing on a play, what a defense is trying to do it against him. There's a lot of things that he's got to play into that. But also remember, when these coaches are being asked some of these questions, and I love Mike Kliss is always the guy. Hey, I don't know if you caught Aaron Rodgers today, but he didn't make his announcement. It's like, okay, we can't talk about Rodgers and whether he's coming here or not. Like they can't talk about that. They have to talk about players that are on their roster. Mm-hmm. And like the Matt Schaub thing, he can talk about it because, hey, this is what happened at a past job. But he can't say, hey, we're trying to go get Matt Ryan at this time. And so, Big E, what's up to you as well? I always appreciate seeing you here in the chat and getting some chance to talk football. Travis coming back in saying, I was definitely interested in you talking about Jameis Winston this morning. He could be an upgrade over what we've had. Yeah, he is. I mean, he's a turnover machine as well. Yeah. So I'm not sure of exactly how his fit would be with this system and what they're looking for, because he can make some incredible throws where he'll make a throw into some of the tightest windows that you've seen. But then it's also that he's thrown into triple coverage in that moment, and some of those get picked off, and then you're shaking your head going, what were you seeing? Yeah. Like what made you decide this is where I should go with the football? And so I like Winston, and I think he was starting to show some decent signs there at New Orleans. I think he got his eyes fixed. I always kind of wonder how much of a difference that makes when he gets the LASIK surgery, all those kind of things of, I can actually see there's other players on the field. But there's still times where it's a decision-making problem for him. It's not an eye thing for him. And so there's still some issues that I think would make the coaches really hesitant to go with him. I think probably Mariota would be more of a guy that they like because he protects the football. Yeah. And has some decent athleticism. I think they could do some decent things with him. If I'm looking at free agency, that's probably the first guy I'm going towards.
Yeah, Winston Mariota, kind of funny. The 1 and 2 in that draft class as well. The thing about Winston that interests me is last year for quarterbacks that had at least 200 dropbacks, he was number 2 in the entire NFL in EPA per play. And that is despite having literal question marks that he was throwing to at the wide receiver core. I mean, Michael Thomas is out all season. Marquez Callaway has been on multiple rosters, and he's talented, but he's kind of known as having some issues. Tight end position, question mark, wide receiver. I mean, I don't know. Also, the thing about Winston is that if you can run the Sean Payton offense, you have a lot on your plate mentally, because there's no scheme in football offensively that puts more on the quarterback's shoulders from a pre and post snap basis, which is the opposite of what you tend to see with the Kyle Shanahan offense. But the quarterbacks that have been best in the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay offense are ones that got their growth and development elsewhere, where they had to be more cerebral, and then put into this offense where they can answer questions beyond, if this isn't there, I'll get to this, the under route here. Actually, I have a backside dig that I'm going to get to that is not part of the progression per se, but I know it's there and I can get to it because I've done it in other schemes. So the question for me with Winston is more so the years and the money. If it's something that's like 2 years for $20 million per, and the second year is easy to get out of, I'm interested. I think he's going to get more than that. I think he's going to go to the Saints. So we'll see about that. We got Dennis Woods coming in, $5. Rank the positional needs this year: right tackle, edge, cornerback, and inside linebacker. Other. Personally, I think it's right tackle. No matter the quarterback, we have to keep him upright. Then edge, cornerback, and inside linebacker. Maybe I'm off base here, but like Bobby Massey was fine last year, right? Like he didn't. The right tackle position was not a plus, but it wasn't a huge problem either. Am I off base?
No, you're not. I thought, in my opinion, he was the best right tackle they've had since Orlando Franklin.
Yeah, Jared Valdir was solid the 1 year he was here also, but I agree with that. And can you please tell me when the Broncos picked up Bobby Massey?
It was pretty late in the
It was
game.
after the draft.
Yeah.
It was after the draft. So I guess my point is that you don't need a stud at the right tackle spot. And obviously it's better to have great players, but you don't need an absolute stud at right tackle. I mean, the Rams just won with Rob Havenstein at the right tackle spot. Who exactly? I know him just because I'm a Big Ten psychopath, but Wisconsin there, baby. But you don't need an absolute god at right tackle to be great. If one falls there that you love, that's awesome. You can do different things with your offensive line because of that. But you don't have to. It's not such an issue where you have to spend that level of investment on it. So for me, coming back around, it's edge, baby. I mean, edge is far and away the biggest need outside of quarterback on this team. The Broncos finished last year 32nd in pass rush win rate. They finished 31st in Pro Football Focus pass rush grade. They were one of the worst teams in all of football at getting after the quarterback last year. I don't know if you saw this tweet from me, Carl, on the Broncos defensive line, how many out of the top 8 snap earners on the Broncos defensive line, edge and interior defensive line, how many of them were not 7th round picks or undrafted free agents?
Well, you got Draymond Jones was a 3rd round pick.
End list. That's it. That's the type of bodies and investment you're making on the interior defensive line right now. Yeah, yes, Shelby Harris has been a hit for that. You probably could say he would have been more like a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick in terms of value where he's at right now. But like, this is a defensive line that just does not have the types of bodies and athletic talents across it last season, especially after Von Miller and Bradley Chubb went out, that you don't have those guys. I think it's emphatically edge, and I think it's edge to the point where you could list edge on there twice, and I might pick it twice. So it's that much, and also it's concern because it's not just you're talking about draft need. You'd be okay next year going into the draft or going into the season with Cooper, Chubb, and Malik Reed. 2 of those guys are gone after next year, so you need to find a starter for 2023 this draft cycle this year. So edge is way up there. And again, Evero saying if we can't get after quarterback, we're going to send 5. If we can't get there with 5, we're going to send 6. That to me says pass rush is important, and I would rather not blitz because I want to send 4. But if we can't do it, if we can't get there with 4, we'll send more. That means that this is a team that he knows they need to spend more investment on the defensive line and the pass rush.
Right, for sure. No, if I'm looking at this list, these top 4, I'd go edge, cornerback, right tackle, inside linebacker, or off-ball linebacker there. Yeah. Just because cornerback, again, just the value of what they bring to the team. It's a lot harder to find a quality starter after the draft like they did with finding Bobby Massey for the right tackle position. And honestly, if that's what the Broncos do this year is say, hey, let's just run it back with Bobby Massey, I'm okay with that. I'd still like to see them put some kind of investment in the draft to develop.
Yeah.
But I really don't mind if he's the starter this next season. But that would be my order again, just edge, cornerback, right tackle, off-ball linebacker. And all of them are good needs. And if they drafted any of those early in the draft, I'm going to be happy about it and excited to see what they could do with it. It's just, you got to keep putting more and more bodies into all these different positions. You got to spread. I mean, that's exactly what the draft is about. And I'm glad the Broncos have a lot of draft capital. Like even if they trade for Aaron Rodgers, they can still fill out a lot of positions on this roster to make it look good.
Yeah, absolutely. And Michael Ronquillo coming in with more support. We thank you, Michael. And also everybody, shout out to Dylan because we had some absolute trash in the comments here. Obviously, we're trying to do what we can with the show, but Dylan, we couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much for taking out the trash. And typically, you kind of want to dance around things, that might be a little touchy. That guy was garbage, and I hope they never come back. Or those people, whoever they are. Shout out to Dylan. Thank you for your help on that. But it also says resign Massey and draft a guy. That'd be great. There are some outside zone tackles that were Scott and I discussed this morning. We'll get into it a little bit more with the combine coming up here. So it'll be really fun to see the measurement, see actually who's going to stick reaching that 33 and a half inch arm length. That is a prerequisite for sticking at tackle for me, at least. So let's keep going with the conversation here about the offensive, defensive line, special teams coach. I got to say, man, the special teams coach, I know that he came off a little bit gruff maybe at first, holding back, especially when he's like talking about like, I don't know exactly what scheme they ran. Obviously we know that we were last in punt return and kick return. We got to work on that, but like, he's a dude, man. I was like, I'm vibing with this guy. I want to be friends with you. Like Nathaniel Hackett's fine. He's corny. I'm sometimes can be like that too. But I thought that this special teams coach whose name is escaping me right now because
Dwayne Stukes.
I loved him. I'm really excited to see what he does with the team. And man, I would kill to be in meetings with him.
Yeah, no, he was, like I said, he started off a little rough.
Yeah.
You could tell this is new to him, of getting in front of media and answering questions like this to this kind of extent, I guess I'd say. But it was nice hearing him just talk about, okay, I got to convince the players that this scheme is good. And then I can go from there to actually taking advantage and helping them learn and grow from there. I love that part of it. Yeah. You know, it just, I think sometimes there's a lot of coaches that just come in and say, my scheme is best. You learn it or you're gone. Deal with it. Yeah. Instead of actually, hey, why does this work? Why is this important? Why do you want me to do this? If you know the why, people want to follow you with that. And so that's what I loved about each of these different coaches. They kept wanting to go into the question of why. Why do we do this? Why do we teach it this way? Why are we running these kind of plays? And just trying to build off that. Why is this going to work this week and it didn't work last week? It just makes people actually want to buy into it. That was their big thing they kept talking about. They got to buy into what we're doing here. And I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm still a little nervous about how young these guys are. You know, I love that they kept bringing up Dom Capers and talking about how he's got enough experience for everybody. And, you know, they do have some of those kind of guys that are still around. Bill Kolar has been around the league forever. But at the same time, still, these guys being the first time actually calling plays, running meetings like this makes me a little nervous. Are they actually ready for this moment? Yep.
Absolutely. A quick shout out to some of the stars. Michael Ronquillo coming in with 3,300 so far. Andrew Baker, good to see you, Andrew. 250. Marquise Serrano, friend of the show, coming in $200. I've guested on a few of his shows as well. We had one, Carl, right back even before we started one. Marquise and I were in a show called the 3 Tech because we were defensive line obsessed. And then Chase Wellner and Travis Tarbox as well. So you guys are great. Let's keep grinding here. I'm going to be completely honest. I am much more of a reader and enjoyer of defensive schemes than I am offensive schemes. Because I always think that defensive guys are more problem solvers, where offense, we're going to run dagger. We're going to run sail, I like the run scheme stuff. That's way more aesthetically pleasing to me. But I did think it was interesting. What information did we get today from Ejiro Evero? Broncos are going to be running a 3-4 defense, 3-4 base. Then he said they're going to use different variations of sub packages. Okay. That's good. That's most teams in the NFL are doing that right now.
Right.
He also said that they're going to use a lot of stuff that Vic Fangio had left over, which is great because there's a reason that teams across the NFL are, trying to mimic what Fangio does. I mean, to the point, I think this is hilarious, and no disrespect to Raheem Morris at all, but like McVay says to Raheem Morris, if you're going to be the defensive coordinator here, here's the first 10 pages of Brandon Staley's playbook. We're running the 2 high safety defense. Period. Figure out how it works with your pressure looks. If you want to live in, if you want to rotate down to cover 3, that's great. But this is the basis of our defense. Okay, Raheem Morris learns it, works out great. Obviously, when you have Aaron Donald, it helps too. But Evero saying it matches. You want to match it the personnel, what the guys do well. But I'm just really interested to see what it does. And I wish I could sit in with the coaching clinic. Like, well, does that mean you're going to do gap and a half? What about the main coverages you're going to use on the back end? Obviously, personnel dictates what you can do, but I just wanted even more. I needed more of the nerding out stuff with the scheme from Evero.
Right. Well, I'm just interested to see who he pounds the table for in the draft and in free agency to come in and help build this scheme.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like we read earlier, there's a lot of positions, off-ball linebacker, edge, cornerback that are needing some players. What kind of players are they going to go get? Because then you can begin to start understanding what are they actually going to try to run within this system. Are they really going to try to run Fangio's first 10 pages, or is he going to really mix this up a little bit more, be a little more aggressive on the back end, be a little more aggressive in his pressure looks than what Fangio was? That's probably my one big complaint with Fangio was he was conservative to a T. Like they'd be marching it down the field. And he was always a bend but don't break kind of guy. We're going to stop him in the red zone, which I understand. But there's just times where it's like, dude, you got to mix it up. You got to get something here. The defense is just hemorrhaging points. Throw a pressure in there. Throw something at him. And he struggled to want to do that. And so I'm kind of hoping that we see that with Evero here, that he is a little bit more aggressive on some things and willing to send some pressures. And, I loved Fangio almost 2 years ago more than I did this past year, because his work with Alexander Johnson with those, A-gap blitzes that he would run, I'm like, dude, that's using a guy to his strength. And I know Johnson got hurt this year, so some of that got hurt of what they could do, but I would have loved to have seen Browning on a few more of those kind of looks, and they just didn't do it. But we got Big E Broncos saying Bradley Chubb is worth more on this team than what you could ever get back for him right now in draft picks. Yeah, right now, at best, you can maybe get a late day 2 pick, I would say. Yeah. I mean, edge is an important position, but just he's not put a whole lot of great film out there for the last couple of years here. And injuries, everything else, he's going to have a big contract coming up pretty soon. So right now, he's worth more to the Broncos, and keeping him around and not wanting to hurt a position that is already struggling to have talent.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is Big E kind of took the words out of my mouth here. We're having the Bradley Chubb discourse. Oh, trade him for a 5th, get rid of him, blah, blah, blah. A, you're creating a bigger hole, and B, while Chubb's availability has been an issue, you are selling low and making an even bigger hole, right? Like you shouldn't go into next year banking on him, but also you have the chance where he returns to being a 10+ sack kind of guy. And then if that happens, you're going to get more back compensatory pick wise than you are trading him right now. So it's way more value to keep him, hope that he gets healthy and see what this year looks like, and then make a decision from there rather than just, selling off on him right now. I mean, he has to play healthy. He knows that, but he's entering a contract year too, right? Like he knows that too. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get the best out of him. And then if he's so good next year and you don't trust him, that, then you got to let him go. And Brent saying Moody absolutely looks good in space. Not sure what you're seeing, Nick. Guess we're just going to have to agree to disagree there, Brent. Doesn't look like a mover to me. Really struggles with pass protection with his movement as well. But we'll see how it hangs. That's proofs in the pudding, I guess. You guys are moving the needle too. Let's keep it going here. We had a question here from somebody asked. Here we go. Zebulon, thank you so much. Which Rams defender might we try to trade or sign away from them in free agency, not named Miller? Is there anybody off the top of your head that interests you?
I haven't actually looked at their free agents of who they've got coming up here. So I can't really speak to this a whole lot, I would say. Do you have anybody in mind?
Darius Williams is somebody who sticks out to me. 5'10" cornerback, weighs about 190 pounds, was with Baltimore for a number of years, and he was pretty good inside outside there with the Rams with Staley and Raheem Morris. So he's one that intrigues me. I could see him maybe actually getting more money than the Broncos are willing to invest again at the cornerback position for a veteran, given they have Darby right now. But that cornerback position, I'm hoping Michael Ojemudia can step up. But you mentioned the slot position. Also, there's Caden Stearns, who is almost a complete unknown playing that level of play. And what we saw with this Rams last year, they really emphasized the pass rush, but they also emphasized safeties, different types of body types in that defensive backfield. And you're talking about Darius Williams is one of the guys. They had Taylor Rapp, who's a lot different than Nick Scott, who's a lot different than Terrell Burgess. So versatile on that back end. Broncos are probably going to have to add some different body types and whatnot, because Simmons and Stearns alone is not enough to live in the dime packages if we're, copy pasting somewhat what the Rams did last year.
Good choice.
We got Michael coming back in here saying, great show tonight. Nick and Carl on building the Broncos. Todd saying way too many injuries lately. That's football. I mean, that's another reason people look at the roster. And I'm like, you're looking at the starting 11? Nah, man, look at the two deeps, because odds are every single one of those guys is going to see some significant playing time this season. So we'll see.
I like that they talked about that when they asked the Rams coaches about, what did it take to get to winning a championship? And they said, when we met adversity, when we had injury showing up, of just guys sticking together, working through everything that we're doing, keeping things the same, of whoever we're working with, we're going to keep it the same, of trying to build them up, get them ready, all those kind of things, and just making sure the backups are ready. Like I almost felt a little bit like that might have been a shot at Locke of, we're not going to complain. We're not going to, be all upset that I didn't get the starting job. We're actually going to make sure that we're still working to prepare. And, I think Locke learned from his early season problems with that. By the end of the season, he was doing much better of preparing himself. And yes, he got those starts and things like that. But, again, those backups, they got to be ready. Backup quarterback. Most teams, their backup quarterback played a game or two or more. You got to expect that you're going to probably see the field at some point. Wide receivers, cornerbacks, offensive line. The Broncos had 4 guys down at one point of their starting unit. You got to be ready to step in. And that comes from coaching and making sure the guys are prepared. And 2, just the mindset of players.
Yep.
Making sure that they understand that this is a job that they've got to put full effort into, whether they're the starter or not.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we're starting to run out here. I'm getting at 55 minutes. Let's see if there's any more super chats coming in here. We got John coming in saying, if we draft the quarterback, who's your top guy in this class for me? And I think it's hilarious because, Tim Jenkins knows more about quarterback play than I'll ever learn, right? He'll forget it today. But him and I have very diametric differences as far as the haves or the haves not at the quarterback position, because for me, and you guys can listen to, not to give too much credit to another podcast, but there was a mailbag episode from the Athletic Football Show this last week where they talked about athleticism at the quarterback position with Nate Tice, who, if that name sounds familiar to you guys, he's worked for the Athletic for a number of years, coach as well. The son of Mike Tice, longtime football coach, offensive line coach. I think he was the head coach for the Minnesota Vikings for a number of years as well. And Robert Mays. But they said that Mac Jones is an interesting case study because they believe that you have to have some level of mobility outside of structure to make plays right when the play is wrong, right? To buy yourself time instead of 1, 2, 3, get rid of the ball. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because you can buy that more time and get to those. And you need to be able to create outside of structure with that athleticism. So for me, I'm looking for the guys who have those superhero traits and whatnot. And I would rather swing on that kind of guy and miss than swing and get a single because the other team made an error, that kind of thing. I view the drafting a quarterback as a home run derby. It's not over the fence, it's an out. So for me, my number one quarterback is Malik Willis. I understand that you have a boom or bust chance for him. He's not young for the position as well, so it's not a 1-for-1 with Trey Lance. But the athleticism, he's legit body type and athleticism. He could play running back in the NFL. That's not hyperbole. He could. He's that level of athlete. And he's also got the best natural arm in this class. He's got a lot of work to do as far as mechanics, the lower base, processing, et cetera, et cetera. I'm swinging for the fences. And if I miss, I'm swinging again. I'd rather, swing 3 times than swing once and hit a single and be like, oh, maybe that guy can turn into a double. Maybe he can turn into a triple. No, I'd rather no. And that means me leaning into the guy with the highest traits. So Malik Willis is my top guy.
I'm torn on this because when I'm watching the film, like I said, Malik Willis is probably the guy that underwhelmed me the most because it was just such a high variance of big play or nothing.
Yep.
And there's a lot of times where you saw him making really bad decisions, not understanding what the defense is throwing at him, just his pre-snap and post-snap ability. He's got a long, long ways to go.
Yep.
And so it's hard for me to even see him making it to that kind of level.
And just not to cut you off real quick, but a caveat here is I think every single one of these quarterbacks have a long way to go from as line checks, from as pre-snap work. None of these guys did that except Desmond Ridder. He's the only one, maybe a little bit Pickett, but they put way more mentally setting everything up on Ridder than any of these other quarterbacks. So just want to add that Willis is far away, but so is Howell. So is Corral.
I get that.
So
I do. So, I'm so torn. I guess I'll just throw out a name. I'll say Sam Howell right now, just because one, he's young.
Yep.
So there's a lot more opportunity and possibility that he's going to grow as a player. I like that you see just the fight in the kid. That kid never quits. When his teammates were not very good this year, that guy willed them to some victories that they should not have won this year. Now, he made some really stupid decisions along the way and sometimes put his team in position to lose games as well. Sounds kind of familiar to Drew Lock.
Yep.
But I think if you get him back to having more talent around him like he would have here in Denver, and I think this system where you're really setting it up for the quarterback to have success, where you're making things a little bit easier, I think you can take advantage of some of the things that he brings to the table. And so I guess I'm leaning into that one right now, but it's still right now, if the Broncos take them, especially at pick 9, I'm going to weep openly. If we're doing our live show, I will weep in that moment. I can guarantee it.
Oh no, Chad, I lost connection. I'm gone. Sorry. No, we'll see. And again, this is not, I swear to God, George Payton in a prior life was a CIA agent in the Cold War. So like everything we hear, like, oh, the Broncos think this is me doubting it every time. But I have heard that the Broncos front office, the personnel evaluator people have stringent hand measurement thresholds that they have at the quarterback position. So that probably Kenny Pickett at 9, not happening. Otherwise, he, from what I've heard, would have been their top quarterback in this class. But the 8.25 hand size, too scary, too concerning. So we'll see with that one. Unless, this is what I was told, unless Nathaniel Hackett says that's his dude. Maybe they would overlook that if, the coaches are over the moon about somebody. But who knows? And coming back to the mobility question with quarterbacks as well, early on, the most important thing for a quarterback on the field is the processing and the accuracy. But I like to have my quarterbacks to have multiple avenues of success, and I want things to be simple for them. You know what simplifies what a defense can do coverage-wise for you is if they can only play zone coverage or drop zone coverage, because if they're playing man, the quarterback's running 80 yards for a touchdown. I like it when it can be simple because of that athleticism, where they're not going to give them too much, and if a team tries to get cute, he'll burn them with the athleticism. So again, yes, it's going to be it for Willis. It would be erratic early on, and maybe I also think he needs a year, not even taking the field, to work on trusting his eyes, and instead of the first read's not there, dropping it and looking to be a runner, let's get to that second read. Heck, let's even get to that third read. Some stuff that I don't know if it's going to happen playing through it, right? I think he needs to kind of rework on some of those things before taking the field. But I don't know. I've said it before. I'll say it again. This is I'm still at the same spot. I don't like any of these quarterbacks enough to take at 9. And which quarterback do you want to take, Nick, out of the top 6 in this class? Whichever one is on the board last, because I want to make the least investment possible, because I do like them all. I actually do like all these top 6 quarterbacks. Love them? Hell no.
Right.
Hell no.
Right. I see an avenue for them having success, each of them in the NFL. And so I could see them all working differently within the system that Hackett likes to run. Mm-hmm. So if they take one, like I said, later in the first, second round, third round, I'm not going to be all that upset about it. If it's at pick 9, though, that is you telling the organization, this is the guy that we want to invest in and build around. And I don't have the confidence in any of these guys to be that guy.
Yep, absolutely. And let's get to this last one before we get on out of here, because Scott's not here, so he doesn't have to get a little bit annoyed by this. But Drew Lock, contract year, will he ball out? I think there is definitely, out in the multiverse theory, multiple things can happen from here. And Drew Lock balling out this season on his contract year is possible to the extent of what do you think balling out is? I think there's a possibility this year with the offensive scheme that they're going to run this year, with Drew Lock protecting the football, that you could get top 15 level quarterback play from Drew Lock this season. Some of that is because of the system. Some of that is because of the pass catchers and the overall talent that the Broncos have around the quarterback. But I think you could get top 15 level quarterback play. That for me, with the overall, and I think that's probably the ceiling. I guess, who knows? Maybe Drew Lock, an asteroid comes and hits the earth and Drew Lock touches it and, turns into Josh Allen. I don't know. But probably not going to happen. But top 15, 1 year of control left. You're probably not paying him the money that he wants to have, and you're back in this situation anyway next year looking for a new quarterback. So it's possible Drew Lock is here. He's still talented and he's cheap. And if he wins a competition as the starter, God bless him. I'll be pulling for him because he'll be the Broncos quarterback, and that's way better. I'm not that petty to cheer against him because I'm a skeptic. Right. But I think that him balling out will be that's in the eye of the beholder what balling out means. But I don't think he has the likelihood of becoming a consistent perennial top 10 quarterback. And that's what you need in the AFC West in the very least. Right.
Well, you kind of look at the 49ers with Jimmy G. Like he's a decent quarterback, but they recognize that they need something more. Chiefs, when they had Alex Smith, he could become, he was a decent quarterback for them, but they recognized that they needed something more to be great, to actually compete for championships. And that's probably my biggest fear is Drew Lock turns into a top 15 quarterback. And then the Broncos are like, well, let's pay him because we really don't want to go back to being bottom 3 in the NFL again. And then you're kind of going through the Joe Flacco situation where he gets paid and they can't pay the guys around him. And all of a sudden they just become a not great team. I mean, they were never terrible, but with Joe Flacco, they saw the fall off when you actually have to pay your quarterback. Yep. And it does make me nervous when a guy has that 1-year wonder when they're in a contract year. Was it motivated by money, or was it actually, hey, the light went on and things started actually clicking for him?
Yeah. And the other thing with Drew Lock too, is if he is the starter this year, is he going to be able to stay healthy? Because so far when he's played, more than 5 games, he's gotten dinged up and it's impacted his play. So durability will be key with him. He's here and I'm hoping that he plays well this year. And he did the low bar coming into these final 3 games last year, but all I really wanted to see was, can you run the offense and can you protect the football? Because first thing that our new offensive coordinator said is, you got to protect the ball. You got to keep the ball because the team that wins a turnover battle wins the football game. Drew Lock 2020 did not protect the football. Drew Lock before the final 3 starts this last year did not protect the football. He did in the final 3 games. Small sample size. I know those weren't great defenses either. I know. But that's something to hang your hat on and to be optimistic about. And again, the arm talent, still young, still cost controlled. There is reason to be hopeful for him. Skeptic, but you can be hopeful. Nathan coming in here with the wrench. I don't know what the wrench is in reference to, but fix it up. Bob the Builder. Building the Broncos. It's about building.
There you go.
Gotta be it. It's gotta be.
And then he came in with a $5 super chat saying the Rams said screw the picks and won a Super Bowl. How long do you think it takes until it's time to pay the consequences?
I mean, they're putting it on a credit card. They could be paying the consequences next year if the roster kind of falls apart. But they won the Super Bowl, right? So I think they would take that every time. This was what they're aiming for. It's so hard to win the Super Bowl. Everybody wants to be the Steelers and they, drafting perennially great and being competitive year after year. They want to be the Patriots, a dynasty, but those are rare. Those are hard to come by. If you feel like you're within your window, go for it. And even if that means mortgaging some of the future, those windows are fleeting. And there's no guarantee that you'll ever be in that window. It's the thing. It's the Aaron Rodgers conversation. Oh, we'll be bad in 3 years when he retires. So you're telling me we won't be bad for 3 years? Oh my God, that must be nice because we've been terrible. So if you have a chance, go for it. That's
right.
Really, there's no guarantees.
Right. Well, I know a lot of people are like, well, Rodgers hasn't won a Super Bowl in a long time. I'd also add Packers haven't made moves like what the Rams did to go get him the players to actually go win a Super Bowl. I'm not saying that Rodgers has been perfect by any means, but sometimes you got to take a risk. And the Packers are one of the most risk averse teams because they're just like, we've had a quarterback. We'll just rely on the quarterback and keep trying to build up the roster through the draft. And they don't do a whole lot in free agency. They don't do trades. And then they kind of wonder, why do we keep coming up short compared to these teams that are aggressive and go get a Von Miller and go get a Matthew Stafford and, the Chiefs, again, trading for Patrick Mahomes. They gave up an extra first-round pick to go get that guy. Then they traded picks to go get Frank Clark. And, they made moves to try to go win Super Bowls. That's what you got to do. And so I hope the Broncos get to that kind of point eventually here, maybe over these next few years where they can be aggressive and go get their guys. And maybe it is an Aaron Rodgers trade. Maybe it's even more than that. I really hope so. But all right, we got Bryce coming in saying Hamilton, Stingley, Saucefall, can't trade back, must pick one. Who you taking and why? Hamilton.
Yes, this is an easy one for me. Kyle Hamilton. I know the cornerback position is more valuable, but if you're living in the 3-4 Vic Fangio style world, your safeties are a big part of your run fits. And having people kind of, Justin Simmons missed some tackles. He's actually pretty good at coming downhill and being a run fit. He's not going to confuse anybody from Cam Chancellor. But they're very important for the gap integrity when you have less guys in the boxes. And Hamilton, I've said this before to Scott, and his eyes have kind of glazed over because he didn't get the Pokemon reference. But let's say if Justin Simmons is Eevee, then I don't know what's a 2-level evolution Pokemon. I don't even know. But Kyle Hamilton is like bigger, faster, stronger Justin Simmons. Like if you took him on Madden, you took Justin Simmons on Madden and copied him and then changed his speed, athleticism, strength, and added like 5 to 10 on all his attributes, that would be Kyle Hamilton. And you could pair those guys together, what you could do from the pre-snap looks with the safeties, which one's coming down and which one's dropping back. Is it cover 4? Is it match quarters? Is it cover 3? Who knows? He's also extremely good in the short pass game, which the Chiefs, Teddy Bridgewater last year had more air yards than Patrick Mahomes, that kind of thing. Why? They're dumping the ball down like crazy because they want to get the ball to the playmakers in space and put your defensive backs in a bind. Did they say your defensive backs can't tackle our guys? No way. Kyle Hamilton, you're going to be able to tackle. You're going to be able to not give up the yards after catch. So, Pokemon reference again. There we go. Pikachu to Raichu. Justin Simmons is the Pikachu to Kyle Hamilton's Raichu as a prospect. So definitely give me Kyle Hamilton. He's not going to be there. It's not going to be there.
Yeah, he's the unicorn of this draft. Like if you're looking for those true blue chip, game-changing players, Kyle Hamilton is at the top of that list. Like, yes, he doesn't play as important a position as some of the other positions like cornerback, edge, that kind of thing. But go give me those blue chip players. If you can get them, boom, add them to this defense. Like I said, especially for me, safety is so much more important in this system compared to some others. Like when we're talking about Wade Phillips, I don't worry as much about safety. I can have a
Darian Stewart.
Yeah, Darius Stewart. There you go.
Mike Adams.
I almost said Darren Williams. I'm like, that's not right.
No, Darius Stewart.
But yeah, Stewart. And you can still have an amazing defense with him back there. But in this system, you need great safeties to go and make this thing run as great as it can. And, and then it kind of pushes those other young guys back a little bit. And so it gives you the depth at safety that no other team has. I just would be very excited about that. But we got Bryce coming in saying at AJ Lavender, talent-wise, I 100% agree, but nobody uses 2 safeties as much as they use 2. That being said, I take Hamilton and figure it out.
I just pulled this up because I don't know where you're getting the nobody used 2 safeties as much as they used to. Teams are using safeties on defense more than ever. You're seeing the Rams this year, and also we're going to copy paste what the Rams did last year to the Broncos this year. You can't do that because there's only one Aaron Donald, but I digress. The Rams had the 3rd highest rate of 6+ defensive back looks in the NFL last year. Some of that is because their linebackers were bad, but some of that is because they said, hey, why would we put worse coverage players out there when we can put better coverage players out there? So Kyle Hamilton, Caden Stearns, Justin Simmons, you feel pretty good about that. And especially with Stearns' ability to play slot and some box, and Hamilton's ability to do everything as well. And oh my gosh, we have Scott showing up here at the end. What's going on, Scott? He's coming back from the concert waving at us here. Scott, it's been a little bit off the rails here for a little bit, but we're going to get on out of here pretty soon. Now that he's hanging out with us, I don't even know what's going on. I'm totally taken aback. And I agree with Nathan here saying Houston's taking Kyle. I think Kyle Hamilton is going to go there. So, and also Chad is saying it's time for us to go as well. We love you guys. We got to get on out of here. Thank you everybody who joined us today. You are great. We appreciate you. You guys can follow Carl and I on Twitter. Carl is at Carl Dumler MHH and I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at BTB Football Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are joining us on Facebook today, please join us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you're heading to Apple, iTunes, and going to Huddle Up Podcast. If you're listening after the fact, you're listening on YouTube, everybody has an iTunes account, right? Make sure you're going to find Huddle Up. Go there, leave us a 5-star rating review. If you have a question for us that we didn't get to on here or something you want us to talk about, put it in the comments there with your review. That'd be greatly appreciated. Number one thing you can do to support us, subscribe, like, and share to this channel on YouTube. If you like Carl and I, that's awesome. But we have a bunch of different shows for a bunch of different flavors for a bunch of different folks. Obviously, the flagship, the one that gets since the boss is here, I got to hype him up. But the Huddle Up podcast with Zach and Chad is, the one that's on here the most. They do a lot of good stuff. I'm in the mornings with Scott. You have the Trickle Zone going on. You have Dove Valley Deep Divers. You have Mile Insiders with Luke and I. I mean, we're busy. We're all around the place. So we love you guys. Scott, anything that, Carl, Scott's here now. He threw me off. Carl, anything you want to touch on before we get on out of here?
No, like I said, just I'm cautiously optimistic about this coaching staff, and I'm excited to see how the players respond to them, to see the different schemes that they're going to bring to the table. What kind of players do they try to bring in? Because they talk about wanting to fit scheme to players, but yet you still want to go get players that fit what you want to do. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And of course, Combine coming up soon. We've got a lot of stuff going on, especially for building the Broncos. And just stay tuned in. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Love you guys. We'll see you again on Tuesday night. I'll see you on Scott's channel tomorrow. You guys are great. Choose kindness, choose compassion. Excited to see what the future holds for the Broncos. But until then, go Broncos.
You've been listening to Building the Broncos. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.